So hey, this is Dan Gibbons from the City Club of Chicago, and I'm excited to be honored to be joined by the one and only Tom Cochran, the head of the U.S. Conference of Mayors for 50-some years, Tom, right? And he's our partner here with the City Club of Chicago. The U.S. Conference of Mayors has partnered with us to bring some amazing people through City Club here at the Chicago Firehouse during Convention Week. And I was fortunate enough to ask Tom to sit down for a few minutes and share a few thoughts about perhaps a couple stories. He's known a few Chicago mayors. He's been here in this firehouse. He has a ton of history with conventions, you name it, wealth of knowledge, and one of my favorite people in the world. Welcome, Tom Cochran.
Well, let me just say this, Dan. You know, we've heard a lot about the 1968 convention, but we haven't heard anything about the 96 convention, which, and I've been to 27 conventions because I have to go to both of them, unfortunately, have you look at it. And so I thought the 96 convention was one of the best I've ever gone. I just wanted to say to you and the people of Chicago that it's unfortunate that we haven't really talked about that. You know, everybody wants to talk about the bad things that happen, but let's talk about some good things. And one of the things about Mayor Daley is he brought people together that had been involved in the anti-war movement. I remember sitting down with them and working on our future together. And so I want to commend him for his leadership at that time.
And we're going to see Mayor Daley in a little bit. He heard you were in town, Tom, and he said, "I'll be there."
Well, I am old enough and young enough to work with his father.
I was going to ask you.
And back then, you know, the press was a little bit different. We would be in the staff room, and all of a sudden the press room would just go running out of the hotel, and he would be driving up, and, you know, the flash bulbs were about the size of lemons, and they would say, "Well, are you going to see the president?" He said, "I had breakfast with him this morning." And then they would say, "Well, have you seen the speaker?" "Oh, I had drinks with him yesterday afternoon." So he was like a movie star when he came to Washington because, as you know, he was so close to the Kennedy family. And we believe I got started because at the age of 14, I saw Jack Kennedy. And the beautiful thing was that relationship they had, together. And you know, there are a lot of stories about what happened in that election, but we know that he was very key to giving us John F. Kennedy.
I think I told you I was at Hyannisport on the compound with Ethel Kennedy, and we were talking about, you know, and I told her who I'd worked for, and she got right around to the Daleys, and she's pointing to the big house, you know, where she said, "Here's where Bobby was. Here's where Jack was sleeping. Yeah. Here's what happened." And you go tell Rich, that when Dick Daley called, I picked up the phone. I woke up Bobby, and he was over there, and she's pointing to all these places. Right. I'm thinking this is history. That they were all right there in that place when Dick Daley called to say we delivered Chicago, we're delivering Illinois.
Right.
And now here we are in 2024. And things are a little different, right? Chicago, Illinois is probably not necessarily a swing state, but it's going to be an interesting election coming up. What are you looking at for this election, and how do you see this playing out?
We're a bipartisan organization, as you know, just like City Club, but we have incredible bipartisan support for a new housing agenda. We were very fortunate with President Biden. I think he's got more done probably than anybody since, a lot of people say FDR, I call him the little LBJ. And I jokingly said, you know, he could leave tomorrow, and his legacy is here with infrastructure, the CHIPS Act, to go on and on and on. But what was left on the track, because of Senator Manchin and Sinema, they objected to this Build Back Better program we had for housing. And so that was left. And so we have to deal with that because it's not just homelessness. It's our children and our grandkids can't buy homes anymore. This session we just had here at City Club is beautiful with the mayor of San Diego, the mayor Philadelphia, and also our president from Columbus, Ohio. It used to be a West Coast problem and an East Coast problem, but now it's in Des Moines, it's in Lexington, it's all over the United States. And so I met with Mr. Jeffries. He's a Democratic leader with a group of mayors, with Mayor Karen Bass from L.A., and what he was saying is the thing is so bad now that he thinks he can get Republican support, for a major housing initiative.
Yeah.
So we still have the mental health issues. We still have crime. We still have wastewater issues. But I think we're going to be spending a lot of time over the next 2 or 3 months to educate and gain support for whoever's elected president to come forth and support a housing initiative that can make sure that everybody can be a part of the American dream.
Great, and that's an issue that touches every city, right?
Right.
Democratic. And we talk a lot about this, the three-party system, right?
Right.
Go ahead.
They're Republicans and they're Democrats and they're mayors, right?
Who said that at your lunch the other day? Was that Mayor Benjamin or Mayor Landrieu? I think heard.
Well, it's always one of them says it, and then everybody takes credit. But
I'm trying to give credit. I'm going to keep saying it, though.
But let me just say this. Rich Daley, when they started getting partisan in those small meetings we have, he said, we can't do this, and he would be very adamant about it. And he always looked at me and he would say, what did my dad say, Tom? What did my dad say? We've got to be together on this stuff. And so every now and then the younger mayors would start fighting and be very partisan. And he would have to cool them off and straighten them out, So, he had that beautiful way of doing that. And so we have to be bipartisan. And on the third year, a president comes from the Republican ranks. And on the infrastructure bill, we had 100 mayors signing the letter supporting that infrastructure bill. 150 mayors in Texas were supporting it.
Yeah.
So we got the power to do it, and so I think that we'll be successful with housing this year.
And is that every year? Do you pick one issue? I mean, your mayors they handle every issue,
yeah.
but do you do that intentionally?
Well, this is Mayor Ginther's vision.
Okay.
Now
Mayor Ginther, from Columbus, who's the Columbus president.
He's the U.S. president. We're not going to quit talking about mental health.
Yeah.
We just appointed Mayor Johnson here from Chicago to be a co-chair with our past president from Reno, Nevada, Hillary Sheevy, to continue to talk about mental health. It's there, and we will be working we will be working with the next administration. We would like a block grant on mental health going straight to cities like we have out of HUD on CDBG. But right now we're making a big push on housing. And of course, every time we sit down, we're talking about public safety.
Yeah, that's still never going to go away, right?
The recruiting of cops and all of this, and making sure that we have constitutional policing that's always there. The whole question of the environment, the wastewater, the lead pipes, et cetera, that kind of thing. And there's transportation. That's something that's very, very important.
So you've touched every issue.
We're not a one-issue organization.
No.
Anything that's going on in a city. And the other thing that's different, I think, about us as an organization, we're in there on the social issues.
Yep.
In 1971, including Mayor Daley Sr., the mayors voted to end the Vietnam War. So that's one of the things that, a lot of these organizations don't get involved in. We came out for same-sex marriage 3 years before the Supreme Court ruled on it. And we were very instrumental in dealing with the AIDS epidemic during the Reagan administration. And Dr. Fossey was there with us on that one. And mayors had to get out front and talk about safe sex, et cetera, et cetera. So these are issues that mayors are confronted with at the local level. And when we come together, it's not just a Cincinnati problem or a Syracuse problem, it's a national problem. So that's the beauty of this organization, coming together to make an effort at the national level, not just for potholes, but for people.
Yeah, right. That's good. We'll pull that quote out from. So, Tom, 50. How many years?
55.
55 years you've been at home.
I came into Washington and worked with Sergeant Shriver in the War on Poverty, and I was the lobbyist for Head Start and Job Corps, those two. And then when President Nixon came in, I hung there for about 3 months, and then I interviewed for a job on Thursday with the Conference of Mayors, and I was hired on Monday. So I've seen a hell of a lot of mayors come and go, but it is an incredible honor to work with them. And the most exciting and most colorful group of politicians on earth are USA mayors. I mean, and then we now have strong relationships with mayors around the world. We have a international. We've had the Secretary of State come to our meetings the last 3 times. So we support the Ukraine. We support Ukraine and what Putin is doing over there. We had our meeting 2 weeks after the war. We had the Mayor Kiev, who's the champion boxer. We had him on a Zoom live coming into us.
Oh, interesting.
And we also had the president of Ukraine coming in too as a video. So again, that's another issue that mayors get pressure at home. They come to our organization, and we think we are making a difference in certain areas.
What in those 55 years, what are you most proud of? I mean, you've driven this. There are plenty of great leaders that come, they go, they've been around for many years. Let's be honest, though, you have been there through it all. You have led. You have let mayors help lead, but this is an organization that you're so much tied to in its growth and its influence in Washington and around the country and now around the world. I believe is due so much to your leadership. What are you most proud of?
I mentioned, there's money. The CDBG program in 1974, we worked with. A lot of people don't understand that the first 4 years of the Nixon administration were good for us. And then we had that situation with Watergate, and we were on the enemies list because we criticized some of his vetoes. But the CDBG program was the first time since Roosevelt, where you had a block grant of money coming straight into City Hall to help, for community development. See, Community Development Block Grant Program, roughly $4 billion. Nixon resigned in August, and it was signed by Ford. So if you look, and so we always refer back to that. And if you look at the history of the conference, we were here with the American Municipal Association in Chicago when Mayor Frank Murphy, the mayor of Detroit City, said, we got to have a relationship with FDR. And so one of the things that they did is they had a meeting in Detroit City and then moved to Washington and formed the Conference of Mayors in 1932. And so they worked with Roosevelt at that time for direct funding coming into our cities during the Great Depression. So direct funding is a cardinal virtue of this organization. And one of the problems we have is we have to make sure that the money doesn't go to the states that come out of Washington. It comes out. So those programs with direct funding, when we had the ARPA program recently, the rescue plan, that money was coming straight into our cities. But as I said before, we've got to take credit of what we did to save lives during the AIDS epidemic. That was something I think that it was very difficult to talk about sexual relations, etc., on TV. And C. Everett Koop, who was a Surgeon General, that was one of the greatest things with the Reagan administration, came to us and said, "You've got to talk about this on TV with people," because people didn't know what caused AIDS. They didn't know what was mosquito bites or what, So you've got to be proud of how you come together. Now, 9/11 hits. Mark Morial is my president. Within 12 hours, we called for the federalization of security at airports, because at that time, United Airlines handled the security at Logan. And you would have people that not exactly were trained to be security people. They would hire them off the street almost. So we helped establish that overnight, working with President Bush, the TSA, which is what you deal with when they frisk you at the airport. You can blame it.
So I was just going to say thanks a lot.
Yeah, but it does save a lot. So I could go on, but I think that the thing that I'm very proud of is when the mayors will come together and be strong and on certain issues that no one else will to pick up.
Yeah. At the forefront, and mayors get shit done, right?
They do.
I mean, that's
our button.
That's
done. And the other button we're wearing just says "I love democracy."
Yeah.
That's a nice subtle way of this what we're trying to preserve, in this election.
Well, that's great, and we at City Club certainly love mayors. We love democracy. My pin, which we're only on audio, so you can't see. But my pin says, "I'm proud of Chicago."
That's great.
And you may remember this pin from back in '68 when the rest of the country wasn't so sure what was going on here. And I believe the first Mayor Daley, Mayor Richard J. Daley, rallied the troops and reminded everybody of what a great city we live in. And as you mentioned earlier, it was great to have his son in 1996 come full circle and put on one of the most incredible conventions in 96 here in Chicago. And of course, here we are now in the South Loop at City Club at the Chicago Firehouse, where there's a lot of history in this building as well.
Right.
President George W. Bush had his 60th birthday down in this very room with Mayor Daley. Tom, I think you've had a couple of dinners here that may prompt a memory or two.
I had one dinner, and they got into it. When they have a few drinks, and some of them get into, what are you guys doing about live chickens that people still want to eat? And we spent all night discussing different ordinances. And I think it was Mayor Goodman of Las Vegas. He said I thought he was talking about having, chickens in people's backyard, the ordinances around roosters crowing, etc.
Sure.
And he said, well, no. He says that there are certain people in my city, they want the live chicken behind the counter in the grocery store. So, it's
mayors deal with everything.
They deal with everything, but I came into the meeting as a staff person because we had some legislative agenda. We were working on something, and all we did was talk about chickens. And what do you do when there are certain cultures that they want live chickens in their backyard? And it was amazing how these mayors were dealing with it in their different kinds of ways. So it's funny that you would remember that, but you always remember things like that. You probably you don't remember when we got $5 million whatever for the revenue sharing program.
But the chicken conversation.
But that's the way it goes.
Sure.
Right.
Oh, you've seen it all, Tom. You've heard it all. You've not only seen it all and heard it all. You're in the room. You've guided so many of these conversations. You're a legend. And I know you always like to take a step back and let mayors take the front. But I'm honored to have you share some of these thoughts because we all know how much you do and have done over so many years to move our country forward and through all of our cities. Thank you for being here in Chicago. It's
one of the greatest cities on earth, no question about it. And we wish the new mayor here well.
Yeah.
And we're working with him just like we worked with Mayor Lightfoot all the way back. Mayor Washington, he was a leader. We mentioned about him today, what he did on the home program. You go all the way back to the one and only Rich Daley's father.
Okay.
They're both legends. But so I'm so happy to be here and so proud. I'm proud of Chicago too. And I'm so proud of you and my friendship and what you're doing with City Club. This is great.
Thank you, Tom. You're a great mentor to me. You're a great man. It's an honor to have you here at City Club at the Firehouse. Thank you very much. In partnership, of course, with the U.S. Conference of Mayors and WVON Radio. It is great having you. We hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you back here soon.
Thank you very much, Stan.
Thanks, Tom.